What's up everybody, welcome back to WT Gaming. I know it's been a while since I posted a video and I apologize for that. I've had some real life things to take care of, but that is all over now and so are my classes, so I can now focus fully on posting more content in anticipation for Classic WoW and any other awesome game coming out. But before I get started, if you have a second and you enjoy the content and gameplay that I post, however sporadic as that may be, head on over to my Twitch channel named WT Gaming 2K. There will be a link to it in the description. And if you got a minute, follow me please. I do hope to be streaming Classic WoW and whatever other cool game that comes out in the near future, but enough of my personal plugging. For today's video, I'm going to give a basic overview of classes in vanilla World of Warcraft. Now, this guide may not be perfect, but it's a decent quick guide for those who are somewhat uninformed about the basics of vanilla WoW, and for those hoping to get an idea of what to expect from each class endgame. Now before I start, every spec in Classic WoW was more or less viable by the last patch in vanilla. Players could play whatever they would like if they took a little bit of effort into gearing. Unfortunately, the stigma from early in the game stuck around and many people are hard pressed to forget what it was like in the beginning of the game. And on top of that, most servers never really make it to the last content patch and still have a solid population in the end. But anyway, let's get started. Rogues. Rogues were one of the highest DPS classes throughout the entirety of vanilla. They were very strong early on. Due to the high base damage of their abilities. They do tend to fall off a bit later on due to the same fact though, but remain consistently high on the DPS charts. However, don't expect to rate as anything other than combat. Assassination and subtlety had some good talents in the upper tiers, but further down was more geared towards PvP. You would see the occasional sub-rogue running around hemorrhaging in raids, but this was rare. A lot of early raid mobs were also immune to poisons and bleeds, which hurt rogues as well. Mages. Another consistently high DPS class, mages were the caster kings. They also brought rare utility in the form of intellect buff, CC, food, water, and a decurse. Molten core was not kind to them however, as many mobs were immune to fire. Still, frost did the job while also being good for PvP. Arcane was more for utility and PvP burst, think PO and Pyro mages. Once out of Molten Core though, Fire mages did considerable DPS with their Ignite Dot and a large array of AoE spells. Hunters. Similar to Rogues, Hunters excelled early on thanks to their high base damages, but soon fell off around BWL for the same reasons. Marksman was really the only viable PvE spec to go for, with BM and Survival being better for PvP and solo and leveling content. Their utility included Tranquilizing Shot to clear enrages, superb kiting abilities, Nature Resist aura, True Shot aura, and their Wolf Pet's Furious Howl. This coupled with their poor scaling DPS relegated them to almost a support role. Warlocks. Warlocks suffer from other issues in the DPS classes. Their base damage started off low, but scaled up incredibly high as they got better gear. With healers being strained as well during the initial stages of raiding, Warlocks' reliance on converting their HP to mana with life tap, Warlocks were often at risk of dying all the time because of this. They were also held back by the 8 debuff limit early on. However, once it was raised to 16, Warlocks were able to really get to work and their DPS was potentially the highest in the game after that. With no ways to lower their aggro however, they had to hold themselves back or risk pulling threat and dying. The most common spec was Shadow Mastery / Ruin, which was a mix of Affliction and Destruction. Once the Demonology tree was reworked however, a couple other builds emerged as well. Priests. Priests were the quintessential healers and excelled at the role considerably. They did however suffer from a high skill cap with the large number of heals they had and their reliance on downgrading often leading to a full bar of numerous ranks of spells. The best priests knew what spell to use at the right time or just downloaded the add-on Healbot. Shadow was brushed aside for the first few raids due to its main damaging spells taking up the limited debuff slots, but once the cap was raised, Shadow not only became viable, but often sought after in raid. Not only was their personal DPS nothing to scoff at, but they were best friends with the Warlocks, as their Shadow Weaving talent buffed both of their damage considerably. This had many utility talents, but was most preferred for PvP. Druids. Druids were in a rough spot throughout most of vanilla. Their DPS was lackluster, tanking non-existent outside of 5-mans, and even their healing was sometimes subpar. As HOT scaled poorly and were often viewed as wasteful, but they made up for it with Innervate and Battle Res. Balance had mana problems which even their plus 3% spell crit buff did not make up for. Our feathery friends found their niche in PvP, however. Feral DPS was at least tolerated for the most part, as a skilled feral druid could do substantial damage, and the melee loved that plus 3% melee crit buff from the leader of the pack talent. Don't expect to see more than 1 or 2 in a raid, however. Later on in vanilla, Resto got a lot better as the inclusion of Innervate as a baseline ability and its replacement Swiftmen gave Resto druids the on-demand healing burst they craved. Paladins. This class is the brunt of many jokes, unfortunately, and I love playing Ret Paladin vanilla. I think the concept of it is just fun to play around. They brought a lot of utility to the raid, but they were mainly stuck as healers for the most part. Protection Pallies were plagued with many issues, and Ret's DPS was just lacking all around. Both shined in PvP and 5-man content, so I mean all is not lost for that. After their class rework, Holy Paladins became the king of spot heals, rivaling even priests in the healing power near the end of vanilla. Shamans. Similar to Paladins, Shamans were stuck healing for most of vanilla WoW. Enhancement and Elemental were amazing in PvP, where burst damage ruled all, but they had issues in raid content. Where Holy Paladins excelled at spot healing, Resto Shamans shined in multi-target healing with their godly chain heal ability. This, coupled with a multitude of class buffs and mana-tied totems, made Resto Shamans one of the best healers in the game. Well, there you have it. Yes, hybrids got the short end of the stick, but they were by no means useless, or trash as many would call them. Each class had its place, and came with their own strength and weaknesses. Despite that, there were the mold breakers in the game that didn't care for the labels put on them by the masses, and just strove to play the game the way they saw fit. At the end of the day, World of Warcraft is only a game, and the point is to have fun, so play whatever you want to. But anyway, I hope you guys learned a thing or two about classes of vanilla WoW from this video, and I know some people have disagreements, and I'm totally open to that, but just try not to be a jerk about it in the comments section. But if you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for me, and also, once again, if you have a minute, head on over to my Twitch channel, WT Gaming 2K, and follow me on there. I do hope to be streaming some vanilla WoW, and maybe even some Fortnite or Bless Online that's coming out in the near future. Thank you guys for watching. This is WT Gaming, and I will see you guys in the next video.